Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Sheeta. Today on the show, 14 Supreme Court justices insist on probe of CGN. Also, Peter Obi reacts to Ekweremadu's arrest in the UK. And later on the show, at last, INEC stops Lawan from returning to the Senate. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions. But first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. I have joining me via Zoom the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. It's good to see you, BKO.
Yes, same here, Ibrahim Shita.
All right, makes sense. So let's begin. 14 Supreme Court justices have called for the probe of the CJN based on allegations of ignoring their repeated demand for improved welfare. This is despite the upward review of the budgetary allocation of the judiciary. This appears unprecedented in at least over 5 decades. To use the word, not to use the word of the CJN, would anyone blame these justices for dancing naked in the market?
Well, I don't want to describe what they've done as dancing naked in the market. Remember, this was a memo directed to the CGN, not meant for public consumption, but somehow it leaked to the press. The judges had spoken to the CGN in March, expressing their concern about the degrading and the dehumanizing state of their welfare. They expected the CGN to do something, but the CGN didn't take any action. So for this old man, the matter had certainly reached a head. If I were in their shoes, I would take the same action. I would even go out. I will even mobilize fellow judges to publicly protest, to down tools, because extreme situations require extreme measures. These are people who cannot or must not be seen to be taking contracts, to be taking bribes from the public. So how then do they survive if their basic entitlements are denied them? I mean, if things had not degenerated, certainly these judges will have behaved like others before them, and they will have not had any reason to complain. And certainly, if not for the apparently poor leadership traits that the CGN has exhibited, his own colleagues would not have turned against him. And what we are seeing is a situation in which even retired judges that the CGN enlisted to help him talk to these judges have failed in convincing them that the step that they are taking was not necessary, or that they should not take any step further on this matter. What the judges are asking for is for the books of the judiciary to be looked at, for the judiciary to be investigated by the anti-graft agencies. As far as they are concerned, investigating the finances of the judiciary, especially funds allocated to the Supreme Court, will not amount to a breach of separation of powers. They have no reason, they can't find any reason why what is happening is happening. Remember, Justice Eko, who retired on May 23 or so, also demanded that the judiciary should be investigated by the anti-graft agencies. It means that before Justice Ejembi Eko left the Supreme Court, before he left the highest court of the land, he too had seen some of what his fellow judges have just complained about. So there's something going on in the judiciary. There is some level of corruption in the Supreme Court. There is some level of fraud going on in the judiciary that ensures that what is due to judges do not get to them. I mean, these are old men. They are supposed to go for training and workshops from time to time. And when they are going, they are entitled to having one person accompany them because of age. Some of them are close to 70 years. Some will be 70 just a matter of months. They need someone to assist them. These rights have been denied them. Yet, before their very eyes, the same CJN, who has not approved their trips abroad for training, will travel abroad with his family members and other people. These judges are allocated vehicles that are not good enough. No one has denied that what those judges said was wrong. The only thing the CJN said was that the issues were being addressed. So how could anyone allow things to degenerate this badly in the highest court in the land? It may not even be the CJN that is guilty. It could be top civil servants. But we will never get to the root of this matter unless the anti-graft agencies are invited to investigate thoroughly the claims and the complaints made by these judges. How can the registrar of the court be telling judges that they cannot stay in their offices beyond 4 p.m. because the electricity, I mean diesel, the generator will be switched off? The executive enjoys much more privileges than the judges enjoy, like the judiciary enjoys, whereas they are supposed to be at par. So, if the Supreme Court has been so disrespected over the years, it has a lot to do with the quality of leadership of the Supreme Court. And these are not just complaints about welfare, but complaints about the quality of leadership or lack of it of the CGN. So I'm happy that the body of benchers have waded in. I'm happy that the Senate too has mandated this committee on judiciary to investigate what's going on, because this is a big shame to our nation that things could get this bad. And the earlier these concerns are addressed, the better. It's been said repeatedly that judges are so poorly paid, yet heavily overworked in our country. There are some people heading agencies, government agencies in our country, earning 10 times the wages of judges. Yet we want those judges to simply button up their mouths when they can see that their rights are being taken away, should not complain. Whether it's their own job to restore the rights of the ordinary man when the rights of the ordinary man get trampled upon. So no one should speak for judges. Certainly this can't be right.
Biko, we lost you momentarily, but your point was being made. But let me quickly chip in this. The judiciary manages itself, runs its own affairs, but as the institution defaults in its responsibility, the politicians are also watching and may be willing to fill this gap for them. So what more implications or damage do you think this may spell for our judicial justice system, and what would you rather recommend to be done? And I'll be linking it to the same thing as what Dennis said on YouTube channel, saying that do you think that what is going on in the judiciary will influence the sense of judgment of our judges, consider the fact that they are humans as well?
I do not think that what is going on will influence their sense of justice. I expect that this matter will be addressed. It will be addressed quickly. Once that is done, of course, they will return to doing their job the best way that we know they can do it. The judges are responsible people. It's just unfortunate that they found themselves in this situation. I don't want it to get to the point when judges of the Supreme Court will now say that they are embarking on industrial action. May God never let it get to that point. But being old men, they deserve to be given proper care. Proper care. They deserve to be taken care of. And these are their concerns. And it's a good thing that the world now knows that under the leadership of Justice Tanko, these things are happening. As I've said, it may be top civil servants stealing what ought to go to judges. Whether civil servants are to blame, things have to be investigated, because judges shouldn't be suffering serious welfare problems related to their welfare at a time when the allocation to the judiciary is going up. There's no explanation for that.
Right. Quite interesting. We'll definitely visit that if you are able to. Let's change tack by looking at our next line of thought, which is on Peter Obi and Ekweremadu. The Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, expressed support for former Deputy President of the Nigerian Senate, Ekweremadu, over his arrest in the UK. So, former Deputy Senate, this is despite Mr. Ekweremadu declaration that the Southeast region will not vote for Mr. Obi in 2023. What's your reading of these whole issues?
Well, talking about politics, Obi belongs to the People's Democratic. Ekweremadu belongs to the People's Democratic Party. So he has every right, every reason in the world to speak well of his own party and try to demarcate the Labour Party that has Obi as his presidential standard bearer. So if he says that the Southeast will not vote for Peter Obi, that is what you should expect him to say, because they are in rival parties. He cannot be seen to be campaigning for Peter Obi. He has to be seen to be discouraging those who will vote for Peter Obi, that their votes will be wasted. So that's Ekweremadu playing his role as a politician. And for someone who has survived the National Assembly this long, you cannot call him um, an incapable politician. He's a politician who who is already familiar with the game. So I'm not surprised that he said the Southeast will not vote um, for Peter Obi. Of course, the PDP had always been very strong in the Southeast. The Southeast is the PDP stronghold, and they've always done well in elections, in national elections in the Southeast. 2023 could be different. Obi is doing quite well. More and more of our young people are leaning in the direction of Peter Obi. But whether that will be enough to give him victory in the presidential election is a matter of debate. And Ekweremadu has added his voice to that debate by saying that Obi will not be elected president and that his own party, the PDP, stands a better chance of winning the presidency. So that's that. I am not surprised that in spite of that seemingly uncharitable political statement, that Peter Obi has offered the support and prayers to Ekweremadu and family. I have so much sympathy for Ekweremadu, especially on this matter, because as we have seen, more and more facts are coming out on this matter, which will suggest, though the case is in court, which will suggest that there are discrepancies in the claims made to the police in the UK. For example, the NIN that Ukpo, the young man who was taken to the UK for the purpose of having him donate his kidney to Ekwuremadu's daughter, in his international passport, he indicated that he was born in the year 2000. That same evidence, that same age is reflected in his BVN and his NIN. So when we start hearing that this boy is 15 years, is underage, this and that, how come his documents emanating from Nigeria say the contrary? Many people have seen that boy's videos on social media. The videos is shot via the TikTok and all that. They don't look like videos shot by a little boy of 15 years. Ekweremadu applied for visa on behalf of Ukpo, and he stated clearly why applying for that visa. He stated there that the boy was going to donate his kidney to his daughter, who was suffering renal failure, who had suffered renal failure. So it's not like they just found a way to ship him abroad and all that. I know that justice will be served in the final analysis, but I have every reason to believe that some of those facts for which, some of those claims for which the the police in the UK have detained Ekweremadu and his beautiful wife are false. I have every reason to believe that. time is a gentleman, as I always say. Time is going to reveal that those claims are false. People have seen the picture of that boy. They've seen his videos. He doesn't look like a 15-year-old boy. But that still doesn't mean that Ekweremadu and his wife have not breached any law. I don't know everything about the British law as it concerns organ harvesting, as it concerns donation of kidney and other body parts. Maybe, just maybe, they've infringed on some of the laws without them knowing. It's possible that ignorantly they infringe on some of the laws. But the point that I'm making is based on the documents available even to the public. The claim that that boy was taken abroad with the intention of illegally harvesting his kidney cannot be said to be true. So from what we've heard, that boy, after he got to the UK and they was taken before the doctors, it was discovered that they will not be able to use his kidney for the transplant because they do not match. His kidney and that of Ekwemadu's daughter do not match. It always happens. Many times it happens. Someone is willing to donate a kidney to you, but by the time they get to the hospital and they prepare you and the patient for the transplant, they will discover that your kidney cannot be used for the purpose of the transplant. That happens a lot. Sometimes it's probably on the second or third person that you will now get lucky to see that the kidney will match, because if it is done, your body won't be able to use that kidney and the surgery will fail. So Ukpo's kidney could not match that of Ekwuremadu's daughter, which then meant that he had to be sent back home in Nigeria. Clearly, he did not want to be sent home. He then came up with the story that they wanted to illegally harvest his organ, his kidney, and all that. It's unfortunate that this has happened. Many of us could find himself in a situation in which he has to save the life of his daughter. Yeah. To those who are abusing Ekweremadu on social media because of what has happened, one can only leave them to God, because this is not the time to poke fun at people, to ridicule people, to abuse people who are in distress. Any good father, any good mother will do whatever it takes to save the life of his child or her child.
Right.
That's what is done.
Absolutely.
I think in the final analysis, Nigerians and indeed the police in the UK will discover the truth that somebody's story is just not true.
Everything is still within the realm of speculation. Just like Dennis Chukudima says, BKO, thank you for being objective on this matter of Ekweremadu and Obi's response. So many comments here. Someone who is trying to ask whether the boy is actually 15 or 21. I think you've already spoken to that regard. Let's go to our last topic because of our time. Senate President Ahmad Lawan, former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, and Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi would not be on the ballot for 2023 elections following the list of candidates released by INEC. Do you feel this is a self-inflicted damage on the part of the aspirants?
Well, I'm just happy for one thing. This kind of abhorrent behavior by Nigerian politicians has to stop. And we are seeing signs that ultimately this bad behavior on the part of Nigerian politicians would stop. You go into a contest. You want to take part in two different primary elections in the same electoral season. Those people who always say they don't like hearing us talk about Senate climbs, they need to listen to themselves. You don't want people to talk about Senate climbs. That means you don't want the progress of Nigeria. Because we can only compare Nigeria to countries that are doing much better. And we can tell ourselves in our hearts that we want to be like those countries that are doing much better than Nigeria. Is this such a bad thing to aspire to be like those countries that are manifestly doing better than Nigeria? Does it happen like that in other countries? The US, France, that somebody will take part in a particular primary election and will still be thinking of going back to contest in another one. I mean, it makes no sense. So they want to eat their cake and have it. There must be a law making it impossible for someone who has taken part in a primary election to go back and take part in another one. And that law must be unambiguous. That is one. Secondly, if I contested the primary election against someone, that person defeated me, I came second. Why should someone now who was not part of that primary election that I lost now come in to replace the person who defeated me? If the person who defeated me is not interested in the ticket anymore, then it should go to me that I came second. So I'm happy because the law says that if you want to withdraw, you must personally deliver a letter to that effect. All of this has been happening because party leaders had been used to substituting those who didn't win primary elections with those who did not even take part. So those governors and other people contested, and Lawan and Co contested for the presidential ticket. They lost it, and they thought they could go back and clinch a ticket somewhere, and they were not part of the election. What INEC has always said is that it only recognizes primary elections that is supervised. And the primary elections that INEC supervised, those fellows did not take part in them. And if the person won one of those primary elections, for example, decides that he's not interested, he has to officially write a letter, and a fresh one has to now take place. That was what happened in Bauchi. Once the so-called placeholder said he was no longer interested, a fresh primary election was conducted, and the governor of Bauchi State won it. But in the case of Lawan, There is no evidence that Lawan took part in a fresh primary election, or that even the primary election that they held was supervised by the INEC. So INEC is saying that the law permits it to only recognize the primary election that it took part in. It amounts to disrespect to the voter, that the voter elected a particular person. Some people will now come from nowhere and then ditch the choice of the voters and replace the choice of the voters with someone else. I mean, this nonsense has to stop. It has to stop. And until examples are made of individuals like Lawan and the rest of them, it will not stop. This was what Okorocha did some years back. His in-law held the place for him and he came back and took that ticket. I mean, Nigerian politicians are evil geniuses.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
what is unheard of in other lands, they keep doing it. You keep seeing them doing what is unheard of, what nobody will even contemplate in other countries. You keep seeing Nigerian politicians do it. Sharing money in broad daylight. They believe that everyone has a price. Now the man in Yobe has shown that he does not have a price. He has decided to stand firm against even entreaties made by the leadership of the party. That is the right thing. It was the one that the people voted for. And INEC in their document says that he scored 280 votes out of 300. That means he was validly elected. INEC has said this is not the final list. Yeah. But we expect INEC to behave like a true independent electoral body by not altering that list at any point.
Absolutely, Mikhail.
Because if you are saying this is not the final, so we should not come back maybe after a few months and hear that that list has changed. If it changes, then we will know that INEC is not independent.
Correct, Mikhail. So, on a final note, because the time is actually fast spent, when APC presidential flag bearer for the 2023 elections advised the Senate president to lick his wound, we never knew his wound would be as big as what we see now. So what do you make of the travail of Ahmad Lawan, and is that the end of the road for him when it comes to his return in 2023?
Well, no one can say that it's the end. We are watching. You know, our country, strange things happen. It could take it back through a court. It could take it back to a court. No one can say with finality that that is the end. I believe that we will still see some drama along the way. This is our country. We know how things, how they do things in our country. I know that it could still take that thing through a court. And if a court says they should make him the candidate, there's nothing the INEC can do. You know? So maybe he can still get back to the Senate. But what I want to see INEC put to is this idea of taking part in the primary election after losing, then come back to take the ticket that someone else had won. It has to stop. Whether it's Akpabio or the Ebonyi governor, anybody that benefits from such nonsense, it has to stop. You can't eat your cake and have it. Once you lose that primary election, yes, that is the end of the road. Why should you take part in two primaries? Who does that? Where is that done? Except in Nigeria, and you don't want us to talk about Senate climbs. Until our country becomes sane in the conduct of its people and its leaders, we will not stop talking about Senate climbs. Those who want to hit their heads against the wall, they can keep hitting their heads against the wall. We will keep talking about Senate climbs until our politicians elect to behave the way their peers in other countries of the world behave.
Yeah, Makes sense. Well, so many things. Dennis Chukwudima said what INEC has done is commendable, but do you think that these politicians that have lost out won't start anti-party activities? That's just quickly react to that. We need to go now, BKO, very quickly.
No, no. It's not the party has supported them all the way. So it's not the fault of the party. All of those people, the party wanted to give them the ticket, but is the people who won, who are opposed to it, is INEC that's opposed to it. So that's not the situation in which you do anti-party. It is when your own party cheats you, you then feel that there's no future for you in that party, you then work against the party. But in this case, everyone knows that Adamu, the national chairman, was supporting these people trying to take tickets that they did not win in the first place. So they are not going to do anti-party. They will keep working to see that they take this thing back. They will spend money to see that they take it back if they can.
Right, makes sense, BKO. Well, so many things. We need to just sit back and keep watching. We'll come back here and analyze them and see how Nigeria is going to handle this matter at the end of the day. And that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses as always.
Thank you. Thank you. May Nigeria get better.
Amen. Amen. And thanks to you too, our audience, for joining us on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.